So let's look at some technical questions that the interviewer might ask you in a full stack development interview. So the first question is, what is an MVC architecture? MVC stands for Model View Controller. What we do is, instead of creating one giant application, we break down this application into 3 different parts so that all the parts will be loosely coupled with one another. The main advantage of creating loosely coupled application is you can easily replace one part without affecting the other parts of the application. So what is view? View contains all the user interface elements such as HTML pages, CSS and JavaScript. What is controller? Controller is what going to process the user request that will be coming from the view. Now what is model? Model represents the data that your application is going to use. So let's take an example. Suppose you open the login page of a website that is called view. Now you will enter your username and password and you will click on submit button. This request will be sent to an application that is running on the server, that is known as controller. Now how this controller is going to manage this data and how this controller is going to store this data in the database, that is done with the help of model. Let's discuss another technical question. What is REST API? To answer this question, you must first know what an API is. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Through API, one application can have limited access to the resources and services of another application. In other words, API is an interface through which two applications can communicate with one another. Now, the question is, what is a REST API? An API that follows REST architecture constraint is known as REST API. Now, what are these constraints are? So, they are client-server architecture, statefulness, cacheability, and so on. Another interesting question that the interviewer might ask is, what are components in React? A component is a piece of UI. Let's take an example. Suppose you are viewing an home page of an website. So a component can be any piece of the UI. It can be logo, it can be title, it can be navigation bar, it can be the content and so on. Now what are the advantages of using components in React? Components can be reusable. It means that if you have created a title component, you can use it in different applications as well, or at different places in the same application. So components can be reusable, they can be standalone, it means they do not depend on other components and so on. So far we have discussed some interesting interview questions and their answers. I hope this has helped you in your preparation for your next interview.